my vision, every desire. Keep for your glory my soul inspired. And with your perfection and your holy love, flooding my pathway with light from above. And fill all my vision, Savior divine, till with your glory my spirit shall shine. And fill all my vision, that all may see your holy image reflected in me, reflected in me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Goodson.
And I'm Johnny Taylor.
And this is Coffee and Conversations. Welcome back with us this week. It's Wednesday night, around 10:50-ish on Wednesday, October the 2nd. We are already in October, JT.
Yep, less than 3 months from Christmas already.
That's crazy, man.
And a new year.
And a new year. They've just gone by fast.
Yes,
let's think about this, JT. Here's what's set out in front of us right now. Moving into October, we got Halloween coming forward. We got Thanksgiving coming forward. We got Christmas coming forward. And our government is shut down.
Maybe the best thing that could happen.
Uh-oh.
Maybe none of them will come back to work.
Oh, man. I told a kid today, I had a kid in our school today who asked the question, should we be worried about this? I said, no. I said no. It's like, how many times has it shut down in the last 30 years? Like 17 times or something like that?
It's not like it's anything new.
Right.
It's not a good thing, but, it's part of government.
The news will always, sensationalize the, and so one of our buddies, Mississippi, who lives in Alabama now, Mr. I think it was Ben Baker. Maybe it was his brother. Maybe it was Austin. That's who it was. It was Austin Baker who said the Rangers have lost. The Rangers lost. Ole Miss lost. And the government shut down. Our pets' heads are falling off. I mean, perfect intonation all the way through.
Yeah. Is any of this surprising though?
None of those four.
None of them. Oh my.
No, none of them.
So anyway.
Yeah. I was not shocked the other night by the dismissal of the Rangers from the system there, and working its way through the world there.
Yeah.
Okay, so JT, you got big things coming up.
Oh yes, we got Nature Fest coming up in less than 2 weeks. Already doing lots of work on that this week. Built a stage, an 8 by 16 foot stage in less than 2 hours.
Wow.
Had some great help. So
that's good. So it's already done. You don't have to worry about that.
Yes, it's sitting under the pavilion at the Nature Preserve. So
great.
It's ready to go. Just got to roll some carpet out on top of it.
Yeah. Now you just got a lot of logistics to work with. Now
There's lots
more
of
than
things.
you know, huh?
We practiced putting up the 20 by 40 foot tent yesterday just to make sure we had all the parts. And
did it work?
Yeah, we did that in less than 2 hours, up and down. So
up and down.
It wasn't too hard. It's just a matter of making sure it was all there.
Right.
But anyway, I'm sure hopefully all other things are going to work out. The weather needs to cooperate, hopefully.
Right. Speaking of needing to do something, JT. I want to just kind of talk about a little bit about our human needs. I think tonight, and looking at that from perspective, we've the last few weeks we've been talking about the will of God, and living life out of that
dependence
of and talking about all the, I can't think of anything. I mean, especially in probably the last month and a half, 2 months that we started our conversation back up again, that hadn't gone that direction.
Yeah.
And I think it'll end up going this direction tonight again. But
Oh, yeah. Because if you're dependent, then there's obviously something you're dependent for.
exactly right.
So,
And I mean, this comes into effect with certain, with certain things as well. But if I'm, sitting here as a man, I can obviously tell you about things that I need. Here's something I need, JT. Okay. I need a computer to run my gaming stuff on, so when I go announce at the football games and baseball and all those things, that I can play my music on, right?
yeah, we're not talking about Grand Theft Auto here.
No, we're not talking about Nintendo. We're talking about a laptop computer that will run a certain, and this is not, it's basically what it is. It's a push button music program that is mindless. You don't have to worry about anything. It's what they use at the ballpark in Arlington. So same type of big stadium systems.
Just software to help.
But here's what's the deal is. If I don't have it by the time basketball season starts, I'm not gonna be.
Your life's not going to come to an end.
Here's the point: is it's not going to be over for me. I can still figure out ways to make music happen in the midst of that whole situation, even if I don't have the perfect thing before me. Now, okay, that seems like a minimal human need, right?
Yeah.
But there's human needs. So we look at things, a lot of things. If I'm basing it on my perspective if I'm looking at it from my perspective of human nature in itself, in other words, my sin, and this is one thing that really just starts to bug me more than anything else when I hear things like this, is my need to get rid of sin. All right, and those things of that nature, and using need in that, and what that is a self-centered view of trying to rid yourself of something that you're not going to rid yourself of. That's in the sense of you ridding yourself of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think a lot of people, when they go through struggles, when they go through, when they're trying to look into, satisfying self, there's always a part of that wants to put, and we talk about control, we talk about all these things before.
Yeah.
But this need idea, this aspect of this coming in and saying, I need to get rid of this sin. I need to play a part. And I'm going to rip church signs again this week. Okay. And I'm sorry. And we did it last week, but that church sign is still up, JT, in town. And it just is. And every time I see it, it still just bugs me. Because basically what we're saying on this church sign is that marriage is a match made in heaven, right? But we need to maintain. But we have responsibility for maintenance here on earth.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm thinking to myself, well, they're presenting a need to a person who's walking down the street that maybe I do have something to say. I do have a part to play in this relationship, in this marriage relationship with God. That there is something that I inject. All right. And so if I'm needing to do that, well, there's obviously going to be other things that there's a need for. And I think as we as humans try to replace selfish needs all the time with other things other than God.
Yeah.
And I know there's things like, even I mentioned that computer earlier, to a large degree, it's an example, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's a true example of what I'm going through, but it's not like it's going to be, like you said, it's not going to be the end of the world for me on that end of it. But Human need is a huge thing in life because we are human beings, by the way.
And we have been given needs on purpose.
Yeah, on purpose, and the need, and the need that we have been given is not the need that we think. Take you out of the equation of this need thing, okay? And this is where I think the bulls butt heads with one another on a lot of things, because if you take you out of this equation, you are created. We are designed with need involved.
Yeah,
and there's no doubt about that. And I'm just going to read a few things, and we can discuss them and talk about some of this stuff as we move forward. There's this word I was looking at earlier, JT. It's the word called imbibe. IMBIBE. It's a definite SAT word.
I was going to say, I've never heard that word before.
Imbibe, it means to take in.
How many times have you ever used that word outside of?
It's and this is why this word is interesting to me. It's archaic, number one. It's an old word.
Yeah.
Because we don't use it anymore. But anyways, I thought this quote from J.B. Stoney uses the word imbibe. So I wanted to define imbibe before we went into it. But it says to take in or to absorb, to drink in. The soul never imbibes the truth in living power, but as it requires it. So in other words, the soul never takes in or drinks in or absorbs living power, but as it requires it to do so.
Yeah.
That's his statement. But as for growth, needs, and here we go, talk about needs, okay? Needs cause us to reach out and appropriate by faith from our Lord Jesus that which we require. We don't reach within self to create a satisfactory solution to a need from the inside. In other words, trying to create something for ourselves to meet or make a need happen. But we must wait and watch for the hungry and needy heart if there is to be abiding fruit. He goes on to say that the true value of anything is known only when it is wanted. And he says later on that wisdom and philosophy never found out God. He makes himself known to us through our needs. Necessity finds him out. I doubt much if we ever learned anything solidly except that we have learned it thus. And it brings up Matthew 5:6. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. There's different things like that. Trying to overcome, like if I think about sin in a certain direction, if I'm thinking about overcoming my sin in that direction, if you're looking at the verse Matthew 5:6 from this perspective, blessed are they which hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. That literal part of that takes you out of the equation. If you're looking at that verse in the deep part of your soul and who that is, that's taking you out of the equation and looking towards Jesus himself and alone.
Yeah.
And any process and any part of this.
It's interesting if you stop and think about it. And I think this statement is true.
Mm-hmm.
We do not have a single need that we can meet ourselves.
Mm.
We can placate our needs,
Mm-hmm.
or medicate our needs,
Yeah, right.
but we can never meet our needs.
Very true.
Just a thought here.
No, that's good. There's so many. There's so many different quotes. I looked up when thinking about needs today. There's so many different good ones. But here's even a few verses. We were talking about Hosea 6:1 says, "Come and let us return to the Lord, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He has smitten, and he will bind us up." And what does it go on to say in verse 2? That he will
Revive us.
will revive us.
And after 2 days, he will revive us, and the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight.
We shall live in his sight.
And you notice it was God that created the needs on all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did say that we have torn us.
Or we have been torn or gotten torn.
He is the one that did the tearing. He is the one that will heal.
Yep.
He is the one who is spitting. And guess what? He's the one that will bind up. Which, yeah, he's talking about taking you out.
It's back to that whole control thing. Who is in control here? Looks like God to me. If I was placing a bet, I'm afraid I would have to go with God.
Yes, it is. The problem with us too is that it's recognizing that there's no good thing that dwells within us.
It is within the flesh.
It is within the flesh. You know what I mean? You know,
Yes.
the whole, yeah, you know, especially within the whole idea of the regards of trying to find some place within here to meet something within ourselves. It has no power is basically where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Behind it.
This body we carry around, there's some ugly things dwelling here. But fortunately, we only dwell in here. It's not, the body is not us.
Right. I think the good thing it talks about is being careful of being driven, living by the needs alone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And there's,
Letting that be a part of our, I mean, if that controls our minds, it controls everything that we do during our day. Man, just think about how we're messed up as it is. The messed upness would be even more revealed within that as well. Majorly.
oh yeah. Yeah, this is the thing, I think the thing we forget, pretty much constantly we forget it, is that we only have one need.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looking for a verse that Jesus points that out. Let's see here. Luke 10:42. Or start at 41. It says, Jesus answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled
Very
about
good.
many things,
Yep.
but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her. One thing is needed. If Jesus says one thing is needed, once again, I'm going to bet it's true. You can stake your life on it. But we don't believe what he said. Yeah, but.
Yeah, but
Don't you like it?
Rabbi Yabbats.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it Dave Busby used to call the Billy Goat Christians? The yeah buts.
Yeah, butts.
They're always butting something.
It's button something. Oh my goodness.
Oh, my.
Billy
I
Goat
mean,
Christians.
there is no yeah but to that scripture.
But one thing is needed. Yeah.
One thing is needed.
She has chosen a good part. What was that? I mean, literally, what was the one thing that was needed? Right?
She was sitting at the feet of Jesus.
Whew. That's such a good reminder to me, too, of all the times, JT, that I'm up preparing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That in preparation for what God will do and how He's going to do it and what He's
Yeah.
instead of just being there with God,
Instead of just living.
instead of just living, So just taking a deep breath and just relaxing in Christ.
Yeah, there was a good story today from our friend Ross.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good example of you just live.
Yeah.
Ross loves to walk at the nature preserve, and usually he has a certain route he takes. He parks at a spot that's not the main parking lot and walks the old rail bed and back. but today, because we have Nature Fest coming up, he said, I'll go up to the parking lot and look around where we're going to set stuff up and just do my walk in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, turns out there's this lady sitting there crying,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets a chance to talk with her and counsel her some, and ends up 30-minute conversation, and she leaves feeling much better. And
Right.
it's just that thing of God has so much planned
Right.
within our just living.
Mm-hmm.
If we'd quit trying to do stuff and just live, there's more than we could ever do within
Right.
that.
Right.
And it's hard to miss God when you're just living too.
Right. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing what the results are of that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the verse people always turn around and God will give you the desires of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
We always look at that stuff. Oh, he's going to give me what I want.
Right.
No, he's
Yeah.
going to give you a desire to do what he
He
wants.
wants. Exactly right.
And he's going to give you the
Mhm.
desires of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
You wrote it down. In our earlier talking, we made a statement,
Here it is.
and
It says this: if your needs are driving your life, then you're not living out of His life.
and we're not saying that to make you feel guilty. If it makes you feel guilty, then you're just going to go off and try and meet your needs
Again, right?
But if we don't come to the realization that we can't meet our needs,
Mm-hmm.
and we let those perceived needs drive us,
Right.
when we should be focusing on the one need that we have,
The one need.
we need to focus
One
on
thing.
the one need.
Mm-hmm.
Because God's got everything else in control.
Right.
And He will give us the desires as the directions we need to go so that we end up where He's going to meet those
Exactly
needs.
right. And ultimately, JT, and this is, what is that one need? What is the simple answer to that one need?
Know Him.
Exactly.
Have a relationship, an intimate relationship with Him.
And the result of that ends up being that His life would be what?
Made manifest in ours,
That's right.
in our mortal
In our
body.
mortal
The
flesh.
life of Christ might be made manifest. What's the reference for that verse?
2 Corinthians 4:11. For we who live are always delivered to death for Jesus' sake.
Sake.
You know, gosh, dog JT, if that verse doesn't make more sense right now than it ever has in my life. Because here again, it just said so much more to me, talking about even the that He will raise us up. He'll give us the desires of our hearts, which is His desires.
And
That we are delivered for His sake.
And the interesting thing is that our sake is not put to the side.
No, yeah.
It means that for the sake of our life, which is Christ,
Yes.
we are delivered to death.
Exactly.
So it's not just about it's not about sacrificing for God. It's about our life, our actual life being made manifest in these mortal bodies. The thing that really makes us live, that really makes us who we are.
Ross, the life of Jesus was made manifest today in a mortal body in that situation.
Because Ross was going to walk
Because Ross was going to walk. That's all he was doing.
and checking out the setup for
Going out, do
our
what he
festival that's coming up.
just
He's living.
living. Oh, by the way, God decides to to place this woman in the path here, right? On basis on just of that, right there, because He knew that that was going to happen.
God was meeting a need that she couldn't meet.
That she couldn't meet. Boom. Bazinga, as they say on
Sheldon.
Sheldon, yes. Bazinga.
Sheldon Cooper.
Dude, I'll tell you something, man. That is so good. You know, and I am guilty 110% of catching myself living just to meet a need.
Yeah.
JT. I'm always, and then the need, and the need is just living out of his life.
Yeah.
That is the need.
And it's amazing how much of the time.
And all that.
When we do that, it's real hard for us to take credit for it.
Exactly.
Because just like Ross today, he didn't go out there to do that.
Right. You know, ministry, we're talking about, if you talk about ministry, if you looked at ministry from that perspective, it happens. It happens more than you realize.
Oh, and I gotta go back and find the C.S. Lewis quote because I just realized how much
it connects
with it.
Okay.
So you keep on talking.
No, I'm just talking about, my whole point there is that we as ministers, and I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. In other words, I've been in church life. I've worked behind the walls of a door of a church. And I want to tell you something. If we lived more this relationship with God out of life and not out of need in the church, holy moly, Batman. You know what I'm saying? There is so much more. There is so much more of we talk about healing going on and about a need for being healed. And I'm talking not just the need of being healed of self more than anything else.
Yeah.
And how that whole thing, and if you're a minister listening to this, if you are working with church people all the time, man, be encouraged by this, that, to live and do exactly what God has called you to do, and do it in such a way that you're living out of his life, that be your need, and watch what God will do within the walls of your church with the people, the congregation out in front of you.
Yeah.
And watch what happens as they see you just being who you are, living your life, and that the life of Jesus being made manifest in your mortal flesh reveals itself to the people there. I'm telling you, there's going to be a transformation in the lives of people who are witnessing that and being a part of that and seeing that. Because you cannot deny the fact that if a pastor, for instance, would just do that one need, live out that one need, how it would transform the life of the congregation and the people within it.
Yeah.
And I mean, because living out of his life is the gospel being made manifest.
Yeah. Okay, I got this quote here. And I didn't realize that it fit a while ago at all, so it just struck me right now. And it's interesting because C.S. Lewis said this about literature.
Mm-hmm.
But it applies to what we're talking about.
Okay.
He says the world does not need more Christian literature. What it needs is more Christians writing good literature. And it struck me how the world doesn't need more Christians out there trying to do things. They need more Christian. The world needs more Christians living.
Mm-hmm.
Life is contagious.
Right. Oh,
it spreads.
Yes.
How many times have we said before, you can't bring something to somebody else that you don't have?
Ooh. Oh, yeah. All right.
You can't, that's always been one of our big discussions when we've been on the way, like Jason's doing a retreat or something. And you can't go give away what's not bubbling on the inside
of your heart.
Oh, you'll give away what's on the inside, but it won't be life.
Right.
It'll be ugh.
And we've seen that develop.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen in both ways too, in good and bad.
Yeah. That's how you learn those lessons.
You learn those lessons, right?
Won't ever do that again.
Oh man.
We try to
when it's not bubbling,
when it's not bubbling, we try to give away death for life.
Mm.
It's a sad thing.
It is,
just
man.
to appease ourselves,
Right.
just
Man.
to make ourselves feel good about us, rather than admit our need.
Right.
But
I don't know. I just feel so much of the, I just look at students every day, JT, and I wish I could just breathe this on them in
Yeah.
such a way that they could just see that. Kind words go a long way
oh yeah,
in those instances. Today, for example, every day there's an opportunity for me as a teacher to encourage a kid. So I've got a kid in my classroom who, I could say this, who doesn't have the best circumstances at home, right?
yeah,
Writes a essay for me, and I read this essay, and it's a narrative. And so when we talk about narratives, we talk about a personal story, something written from the first person point of view about you, about the person writing it. This is what happened. Here's a story. Well, part of the teaching process, JT, is the need to use certain tricks within writing to pass.
yeah,
All right. And so to develop a good writer, it's not something you can do. I
No.
can't teach good writing.
no,
Helen Keller, by the way, coined this phrase, who is blind and deaf.
Yeah.
Okay. But learn Braille and learn sign language within that and read and write in Braille. Amazing. Okay. She said that you can't teach good writing. You either have it or you don't.
yeah,
There is not a innate, sense of creating a good writer. So what we do as teachers is we try to trick these kids into being good writers
yeah,
by using certain techniques within writing.
yeah,
And it translates. They might not be the best overall work that we've ever seen. But here's a young person in this class who has never done really well,
yeah,
who writes this essay out. And the only thing that was said today, and I've read this essay, and I was standing at the door, and as that kid walked in the room, I was talking to a teacher, and that kid stopped and talked to us, and the only thing that was said is, I looked down at this student and looked back at the teacher. I said, that kid right there can write. That's all I said. I didn't say, hey, it was perfect.
yeah,
I said, that kid right there can write. She went and sat down. Oh, excuse me. Kid went and sat down.
yeah,
All right, today. And just beamed for the rest of the day. I
Yeah.
didn't even acknowledge what it was that was great about it.
yeah.
That kid's a good writer.
Well,
It's little things like that that transform a state of mind from having just going into that. I mean, that's what we don't realize is ministry, being ministry, and living out a life, and saying little things or doing little things like that with.
I think in the C.S. Lewis quote here, the thing he's getting at is if we're pursuing after God,
Mhm.
then God's going to come out in the writing of a
Right,
writer.
right,
That's why he's saying you don't need more Christian literature. You need Christians that are
Mhm.
writing better literature,
right.
because what's inside will come out,
Mm. Very good.
and that's what happens when you live out a life. Christ is made manifest, and that's the heart of ministry, is that Christ be made manifest, and we don't have control of how that happens.
Mm.
All we can do is pursue him,
It's good, man.
and then we never know when he's going to manifest himself. Just like words to a student,
Lord, sister.
or not even to the student, but to somebody else.
Right.
2 or 3 words.
2 or 3 words.
You never know. You never know what their need is. God does.
Mm-hmm.
You never know where the need is exactly. Just the thought of people going out and trying to meet perceived needs to satisfy their own desire to, quote, be ministers. That's just sickening to me, because it's just spreading death.
Yes, it bugs me. That's why the need to live out a life, even from the pulpit, has got to be essential. Even from the hallway of your freaking job.
Quit telling people you're here to bring them Jesus.
Yeah.
And bring them Jesus.
And do it. By your life.
By your life.
Yes. Man. It's funny what we learned. JT has spent time behind on staffs at churches.
Yeah.
I've spent a good bit of my life doing the same thing. And as the process went on, that became more true as every day. Forget about numbers, forget about programs, forget about stuff, and just.
That's why we're sitting here doing a podcast. We don't have a youth camp like we planned. But I'll take one podcast out of life.
That's right.
Over 100 youth camps out of work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'll do more good in one podcast that Jesus manifest his
mortal flesh
in our mortal flesh than I'll ever do out there trying to fulfill some vision or
right. And you don't, and there ain't enough Bible classes to teach that.
No.
But living out a life, boy, that's interpretation enough right there. Ain't enough. There ain't enough Bible classes that'll teach that.
You wonder why your life is empty? Because you're living out of you. That's the best way to put it.
You living out of you.
Always that whole thing we talked about, pursuit. You're trying to fill your needs.
Mm-hmm.
It's right. Your needs are the things you see as needs, and yeah, they probably are legitimate needs.
Mm-hmm.
How we think they should be filled usually is wrong.
You're right.
But if that's the thing that drives you, it's controlling your life to meet those. Mm-hmm. You're living out of you, and I hate to tell you, you ain't got nothing to give.
That may be the best news you've given. You know what? It may be the best news we can give to somebody. Yeah. Say, hey, you ain't got nothing to give. You ain't. You got nothing.
Jeremiah.
Read that. Yeah, I love it.
2:13. For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me. They're not dependent upon him.
Mm-hmm.
That's forsaking him.
Mm-hmm.
They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters.
Mm-hmm.
The very thing that gives life, that sustains life, that flows out to others in life. That's what they've forsaken. And hewn, they've built for themselves cisterns, broken cisterns that hold no water.
Yeah. That's good, man. Very good.
It takes... I'm trying to remember. I've seen pictures of cisterns dug out in the desert and stuff.
Uh-huh.
That's a hard job.
No way, man.
That's a bad job. And then they don't hold nothing.
They don't hold nothing to do it.
A broken one.
Just live. Just live, folks.
Depend on God to live and pursue him.
Pursue him. Yeah.
That's our only need. It's our only need. Everything else will line up.
That's right.
Maybe not according to what we think is lined up, but it will line up. It will line up according to God's plan.
That's right. Well, we're going to let you know as we end today that we will not do podcasts for next week. There's so much going on. with the things that are coming up for us that we're going to take a week off, and then in 2 weeks we'll be back and maybe have learned yet another way to be
Some more dependent.
upon this great God we serve.
Many reminders this coming week, probably, I'm sure.
That's right.
Anyway, well, have a good week.
Okay, see you later.